Meeting of the Sedona Fire District Governing Board is called to order. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now a moment of silence for the service members and first responders who have passed since our last meeting.
Please take a moment to honor the 7 firefighters and 8 police officers who have passed since the last board meeting.
Thank you. Quick roll call. Scott?
Present.
Ori present.
Helen McNeil, present.
Diana Christensen present.
Lance Walter present.
Thank you. So today we have the pleasure of a budget hearing. And so unless we have some folks calling in, I don't think we have any members of the public. Josh, do we have anyone calling in? Nope. No. All right. So let us move to discussion and possible action regarding the proposed posted Sedona Fire District fiscal year 2025-26 budget, resolution 2025-01 for approval of the fire district fiscal year 2025-26 budget, including pension funding and salary scale. So I so move. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Okay, let's have any discussion. Is there any discussion?
So I'll just kind of run through.
Yeah.
High level, some of those items that are all included within this discussion item. So we'll start up there. Josh does have up on the screen there the tentative 2026 budget that was tentatively adopted last month. We have posted for our minimum of 20 days. There's been no public comment that we are aware of at this point, and nor is there any public comment here today. The budget before you is, $26,051,330 at a proposed tax rate of $2.7592. Balanced budget, funding our capital reserve at $1.5 million and providing appropriate step increases and raises to staff, as well as the added staffing that was discussed earlier in the budget meetings, workshops, I should say.
So questions for Mr. Boulder?
Well, Mr. Boulder, we've been going over this budget for the last 3 to 4 months, and I just want to, make sure that this figure is the same figure that we talked about in our last board meeting, which it looks like it is.
It is. In fact, by statute, if we were to increase this number, we would have to repost we'd have to re-tentative and repost for 20 days. So
very good. So this number is a number that we board members have had the opportunity to go over in detail.
yes.
In detail, almost line by line, and ask all the questions that we wanted to. So we're at this final process that is important, yet almost just honorific, because we've done all the work already.
It's kind of like a wedding.
Oh,
When you say I do, it doesn't mean that a whole bunch of legwork didn't go in ahead of time to get everything.
Yeah.
set.
Right. Other questions?
I'd like to commend the chain of command and management team for being so proactive, as well as Gabe and your associates. Makes it definitely, clears the smoke. And of course, I have my line items I like to focus on. And so I'd like to say that utilization economies of scale with other partner agencies is huge. I like seeing that, and it's something I hope we can continue in the future. Thank you.
Other questions?
Right. The next item that's under this is our public safety pension policy. It's,
Wait a second, I think we had a motion on the
There's a motion
table
on the floor.
for the budget.
oh, is it just specific to the budget? I thought you read everything. My fault.
Sorry, you're correct. It says, I did read pension funding and salary scale. I apologize. You're correct, as usual.
So it's the time of year for the approval of our annual pension funding policy. The policy language, as you read through it, for existing board members and new board members was came out of a law passed in 2018. And really the impetus behind this was making sure governments were aware of where their public safety pension was funded at and what the contribution requirements were to maintain that funding level. Now, the document itself has some various definitions and explanations. If we go to the next page up there, really kind of the important information that's really specific to us is this is kind of a excerpt exactly from our actuarial report, which I know we've actually discussed with the board when that came out. And right there, we've got kind of in the middle, we've got our funded ratio. And then we've got the present value benefit and the actuarial assumed liability, which is a fancy way of saying a made up number. And we actually went up in our funding from our liability went up from 63.8 to 64.1. And we are sitting with an unfunded liability right now of 27.7 million within the pension. It's one of those items that, some agencies have gone out. They've taken this actuarial assumed liability and gone out and leveraged their assets and went and got a loan to pay that off. And the concept was, well, PSPRS is charging us, I think we're 7.2% on this. And at the time, we can go get a loan for 3.5% or your 4%. Where, JVG kind of took a position not to really advise either way on that, but also didn't really like that concept, is we essentially are taking a calculated assumed number and creating a real debt by doing that. And if for whatever reason we get in a financial issue and we can't pay all of our annual contribution, nothing really happens other than our liability goes up that year. We don't pay the bondholders. They come take our assets. And so, and the other issue we're seeing too is a lot of agencies that have gone through and refinanced to pay off and generate savings have seen their unfunded liabilities continue to come back up and they're paying even more into the pension. And so we do think that this is something the board needs to be aware of. There will be a time where we do need to start taking money and paying this down more aggressively. However, until we see stability in our pension, it's a hard pressed thing for me to say to the board, let's take $5 million of our money, pay that down, when next year there could be an assumption change. There could be something that PSPRS does from a financial management perspective that has a negative impact. And now we've just added 10 million to our unfunded liability. So always something we need to be aware of. Our plan, and if basically the language, if we go to the next slide, one more. The discussion here is our goal is to get 100% funded. But right now, what this policy is saying we're going to do is we're going to pay at our calculated rate that the actuarials have calculated that we need to pay every year to pay this off and be fully funded by 2036.
What percent are we at right now? There were several percentages. I didn't know which one was the.
Yes, so we are going to, for next fiscal year, we are going to be paying 49.57%. And then for our tier 3, which are our newer members, a little bit less, about 45%.
And that's a percent of the
Wages.
Wages, yeah. And then and another question, please, what percent are we funded? That amount that we have is that liability. What percent is that of?
How much of that's going to our liability versus how much? Our normal pension cost is about 15%.
Okay.
So the rest of that other roughly, 30% to 35% is going just to the unfunded liability.
Other questions for Gabe?
I think you need more words on your slide next time.
All right, those were the items.
Saw you looking up there like.
So any questions regarding the salary scale, regarding the budget, regarding the pension funding before we move forward with a vote?
Not so much a question, but just a comment again that the salary scale is something that involved a lot of work on the part of staff, a lot of meetings, and that it's been vetted. We've gotten to see it, but it's also been in place for a while now.
Other comments or questions? Okay, then I will call a vote. All in favor of the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget, resolution 2025-01, and approval of the fiscal year 2026 budget, including pension funding and salary scale, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have passed a budget. And I'd like to take just a moment to echo what Lance and Corey have said. I know that there is a great deal of work by the people in this room and also by the people who are not in this room to make this happen. And I'm deeply appreciative of all the work because I know it's not fun work and it's hard work, but it makes a huge difference. So thank you for all of your efforts. And Gabe, to your team, please convey our gratitude.
Well, thank you guys.
Okay. So do we have any folks who want to make public comments?
No one is submitted.
No one has submitted. Okay. So then let's move on to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda to be approved, which the board has had the opportunity to review, sometimes in depth. The March 18th, 2025 regular meeting minutes, the April 15th, 2025 regular meeting and public budget workshop minutes, May 13th, 2025 special board meeting minutes, and the May 20th, 2025 regular meeting and public budget workshop minutes.
Can I say May 13th?
There was a revised,
Yeah.
yes. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and say nay. Consent agenda is approved. Mr. Bolger, back to you for the financial report.
Yes. Did you guys?
Nobody. Madam Chair, members of the board, you guys have the May financial report in the packet. Starting off, tax levy revenue came in at about just a little over 2.4 million. As I had mentioned to you in the previous month, we were lagging a little behind on our tax collection. We've made up the majority of that. So we were about 1.4 million over what we had budgeted for the month of May. Still a little off year to date, but it's, a little over 1% variance, so relatively small variance. Non-levy revenue was at 338,000. As you can see, that was over budget by 53,000. Ambulance revenue and again, our interest income were some of the predominant drivers of that. On the expense side, happy to report we are under budget across all of our major categories. And in fact, we're under budget in totality by $242,000 for the month of May. The one variance though that was over budget was under vehicles and equipment. We were at 120,197, which was 51,000 over what we budgeted, and that was driven by timing of our PPE purchases, so like turnout gear and that sort of thing. Next slide. Year to date, we are 11 months through the fiscal year. We're sitting with total revenue of 24.9 million. That's 1.1 million over what we had budgeted for the year. Our non-levy revenue is the predominant driver of that, both with ambulance, wildland, and our interest earnings are obviously what's driving that. As I mentioned, our tax levy is lagging behind a little bit. We're about 260,000 under where we expected to be at this point, but that's still just a little over a 1% variance. On the expenses, we're at 20,326,000 in total expenses. That is under budget by 881,000. And again, we were under budget across all of our major expense categories. Next. Turned out great.
Yeah.
That's a pie chart.
That shows that we spent 88.
Yep. So we have spent 89% of our budget, and that little wedge up there at the top is 11% remaining for the last month of the fiscal year. And then, that one's a little better. So what we lost there is our personnel. So out of our total expenses, of that 20 million in expenses, 85% of that went to personnel, followed by operations at 7%, and both managerial and communication were at 1%. And then finally, year over year, we ended the month with 20 million total cash on hand. That's an increase of about $262,000 over the prior year. Our other assets did increase from 25.3 to 26.7. A lot of that is driven by the land purchase that the board made earlier in the year. And then our total liabilities, small decrease from 33.4 million to 33.3 million. And that's just more of a fluctuation within our current liabilities. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions for Gabe?
I do not.
Then I will entertain a motion to approve the May 2025 finance report.
So moved.
Second? Second. Okay. So all in favor of approving the May 2025 finance report, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? A finance report. Gabe, thank
Gabe,
you.
leave us. Thank you.
Yeah,
I got-
thank you for your efforts. and
Yes,
Good
thank
luck
you,
at your
guys.
other meeting.
Yes, hopefully they go this smooth.
Promise.
I don't deal with the difficult clients anymore. I only work with the nice ones. So I don't work with bills much anymore. See you guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gabe.
All right. So Chief Coyle, over to you.
Madam Chair, happy to. All right, we'll start with the operational update since I'm the first slide. Dave's rubbing off me. I just said, we have 44 applicants for firefighter that just closed. So now we're in the process of sending them letters and telling them to get us all the proof that they have all the things they said they had when they applied. That process will take a couple weeks. And I believe that Kiona's scheduled about in August to have some interviews and to establish a ranking and reduce that list down to a smaller number,
Is this
fill some positions.
for a list or off of the list?
So both. Diana, we'll create a list, a ranked list after we go through some different assessment center functions. And then given that you all just approved the budget and that budget includes an additional 3 firefighters at station number 6, then there will be at least 3 of those applicants that will be offered positions. So, yep. So I think that's a nice enticement too, when you're going through the process, to know that not only are you going to be, do you want to place high on a list for the possibility of a position, but you know that if you place high enough on the list, there is a position.
There was, from the last round of hiring, I thought there were some folks that we thought were qualified, but we had only so many slots, and so we didn't hire them. Were there any of those folks brought forward?
They will not be brought forward. They would have to test again once,
Okay.
because the list expires in 1 year. And the reason being that even if, say, number 10, which is about where we got to, I think, is we thought that they were hireable. They may not be the most desirable candidate when they're thrown in the mix with the rest of them. Then again, they may test and place much higher the next time around. So it kind of refreshes every time.
Well, how long was the period for application to get on this list?
It was at least 3 months, I think. There was a pretty long period between the outreach and then the time that it was opened and then MTN advertising for us and everything.
So you
So-
said 44, is that compared to what we've had in the past? How is it?
I believe last year we had 30 something and the year before it was even less than that. So we had, because the year before we had concerns that perhaps our model of taking people that had already been credentialed in firefighting, basically having their firefighter 1 and 2 and making that a prerequisite was not going to get us the quality of candidates that we wanted, because it is something that limits the pool. And we did not see that with the last group of hires, as evidenced by the fact that I think in 3 days, Jordan said that there's 3 different people that scored the highest that anyone had on their 6-month evaluations and things like that. So they're definitely quality hires, and we have more of them this time. So that's in this environment. I'm very happy with that number, frankly, because it's
Interesting. I saw an advertisement on TV for Phoenix Fire, and which is why I was curious how the numbers stacked up. So thank you.
and it used to be that those larger agencies, you would, if you weren't in line early enough, you wouldn't even get an application because you'd have to wait in line. Scott may have experienced some of that back in the day.
Remember those days?
Spend the night outside the night before.
Yeah.
Yep, because only the first 1,000 people or 5,000 people, they'd fill up an arena. That was all the people that got to test. And then that's not the way it is anymore, though.
We've been
As
hearing
evidenced
you-
by the fact that you saw their advertisements.
Yeah, we would have well over maybe like 160 applications or something like that, even for here, for no openings.
Yeah.
It's changed.
You don't bring just a lunch. Bring.
Lunch for everybody.
The start dates for the 3 administrative positions that we filled are set for the first half of July, different dates respectively, but so by this board meeting next time, they should all be in place. The inspector, second round of interviews is scheduled. They completed the first round. The 2 applicants performed well in the first round and so we will go on to a different one. On to another round, I mean. The regarding the job operation stuff, heat-related calls have been on the rise as it happens when it gets hotter outside. That Mr. Rydell over there, I'll let him speak more to this, but he and Cooper Carr both had media presentations, engagements, if you will, where they tried to reinforce the risks associated with hiking in 100+ degree weather and not being prepared for that. Buzz and I were talking this morning about those, that sunk cost fallacy when you show up and you're on vacation and you have these plans to go hike, is alive and well. And then, and you happen to show up at a trailhead at all the other trailheads you had a hard time getting parking at and show up at 1 at 11 o'clock and there's lots of parking spots. You should ask yourself why that is. Why does that south facing trail have a lot of parking spaces
Hopefully
right
it's
now
empty.
before you head out? But people don't, and then we go to work. So there is a wildfire executive order that was recently published on June 13th, getting a lot of press. Along with that, there is budget, I don't know what you call them, I guess, budget proposals for the Department of Interior and the U.S. Forest Service that combine all the federal wildland fire agencies into one federal firefighting agency. There's some pretty aggressive timelines set within the executive order. And we've had a lot of conversation, the National Wildfire Committee and the Western Fire Chiefs Wildfire Committee about that. Some of the changes and some of the stated objectives are will be useful for having a more coordinated response. There's a lot of stuff as you peel back the onion. Things like when you talk about that you want to reduce the restrictions that smoke restrictions on prescribed fire, all the different players that have to be involved in that, and the different agencies, and then the different processes. And by the time you stack all those up, I don't anticipate it's going to have much of an impact on the Southwest fire season. And it will be a very busy winter job for a lot of people to try to put that in place by next fire season. But there's happy to talk more about it. It is a big lift. It's 7 agencies, combining them into one is going to be a big lift.
And did whoever wrote that plan know, were they versed in understanding fire departments and wildfire safety?
Fortunately, on the revised version, yes, they took input from individuals that I believe have a high degree of competence in that area.
Mhm.
One of them, because he said it publicly, is Brian Fennessy, the chief of Orange County Fire Authority, and other people that are used to operating in large, complex response systems. What I think will be most interesting to me is the non-fire positions that support fire. Just like anything we talked about before, like the admin, like I can tell you what, having 3 people down in there and then having a SAM's number that wasn't updated when it was supposed to be and has expired, and then you need that to get funding, turned into a very big lift for Keona especially. But it's that stuff behind this. It's the procurement, the contracting, all that kind of stuff. How well that transitions, because when you look at each one of the budgets and the money that's moved over, it's clear where the suppression funding's going. So for the people in the blue shirts or in the green pants, if you will. But what's not clear is how well all of the different supporting roles are going to be tasked. And then, if you're a ranger and you manage a portion of a national forest, you have fire suppression crews that are paid strictly out of fire money, that when they're not doing fire stuff, they add value to other functions. They may help with trails someday, they may do other stuff. And you've built a model since the early 1900s that's based on that. And the ranger is kind of like he or she is the boss of all of them. And now you're losing that capability and that flexibility. And so the gaps you may see in rec, and you may see in timber, and you may see in all these other areas are those tertiary functions weren't clearly defined. The amount of time they spend on those tertiary functions wasn't clearly defined. And so you kind of have to, once it's moved, see the gap, and then how people respond to that gap, and whether there's an acknowledgement that, yeah, you're right, we need to add some positions here and create some redundancy basically to be able to do that stuff that needed to be done there, because the people that you had that do it are now reporting to somebody else. That's part's going to get really interesting. So it's
And this is definite that this consolidation will happen.
there's an executive order and there's 2 budget proposals, but we're still operating under a CR. We're not even, the 2025 budget proposal wasn't approved. Direction has been given to them, and the OPM is supposed to, I think it was a 30 and a 90-day check-ins and so the money's been transferred in the budgets. The unified agency has been created, and there's an executive order directing it to be done. And there's OPM is supposed to follow up on, I think, 30, 90, and then there's sequential check-ins to say how that progress is being made towards those. So it's moving that direction. I mean, it's I guess I'll wait and see if it's actually done, because you could all of a sudden when the wheels come off. So here's what, this is just life according to Jason. I guess it's my version of Edric, but is that we're saying that all this stuff is really good right now, but there's going to be a significant increase in fire activity across the western United States over the next 2 months. I mean, the Pacific Northwest is already getting active where they normally don't. There's a fire by Chelan that was very difficult to suppress over the last week, and Chelan, Washington, that's not supposed to happen yet. So we get this convergence of fire seasons that in these different areas that doesn't normally occur, and then all sorts of people are going to be pointing fingers as to why the problem exists. And I'm certain there's going to be some that are going to be saying, well, the problem that exists right now is why we're putting this fix in. Other people are going to say the problem that exists right now is going to be exacerbated if they do this ridiculous wholesale change that they're proposing. And then people are going to either stay the course or change their minds in positions of authority based on how that all plays out. So
So there's some fluidity.
there will be fluidity. Just like Nippon Steel isn't going to be able to buy US steel. I bet there'll be fluidity. I just don't know which direction it's going to go.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I told these guys not to talk very long in here. Look at me. I was talking my face off. The ambiguity, uncertainty, I just talked about this in some management team, but uncertainty when you like know your choice sets and you know that there's these 3 or 4 different options that are going to occur. You know, we're either going to go to Maui for vacation or we're going to, go. That creates a certain level of tension in most individuals, but ambiguity, different people respond, and some people that are good at managing uncertainty respond very poorly to ambiguity. They stall, they don't, they say, well, I can't do this, I don't know what I should do, or other people, they iterate and they move forward in incremental steps and then they reassess and then they continue to move forward. That's going to happen across large swaths of the federal government. And I think that those micro responses across multiple people is going to dictate how smoothly something like this goes. And a lot of it's innate, how well you handle that. And that's not, bureaucracies are not designed for that. Other than that, everything's fine. So right now, as far as our local conditions, the energy release components, so the availability of the fuel to burn and how likely it is to burn actively. Below the rim, 97th percentile. So getting up there next to historic maximums. Above the rim, the 90th percentile. So everything is ripening up. The green up, the brush that started to grow is starting to cure out now. And probably some numbers over there every once in a while to show us that. And then we have hot and dry weather for at least the next 7 days with critical fire weather towards the weekend. So there's no lightning in the forecast. So we're just bad actors. And so sooner or later, one of those will make a bad decision at the wrong place and something will give because the background conditions are present for it to fires to burn aggressively. There's just a start by Nogales, New Mexico, and in 5 minutes, the column went from this wispy little white smoke to a dark black column in 5 minutes. So we'll see if I'm here tomorrow, if I'm in Nogales, New Mexico.
We'll be in charge then.
Chief Lukowski.
I'm out.
Let's see. That was the last part of it, and I apologize for the editorial there. Hopefully it was useful because it's pretty complicated. I don't know how to say it simply. It's just a lot of stuff going on. So with that, Mr. Rydell. Well, if y'all have any questions, beg your pardon. Well, yeah.
Been asking questions as we go.
Which is
Yeah.
easier.
Don't you worry.
Good afternoon, everybody. As you can see, CR is pretty much just flowing along like we've been flowing. Nothing's really increased. Everything's been kind of status quo, which is good. A few things that are happening in there is, as Chief Boyle alluded to, our inspector interviews. We had that last week. Had 2 candidates moving forward to the chief's interview next week, following 26th. And hopefully we'll have ourselves an inspector on board here in a month or so. That'd be great. We need it. Secondly, we are starting tomorrow at 1800. We will go to stage 2 fire restrictions with the Coconino National Forest. And that's going to tighten things up a little more. Pretty much no fires, no campfires, no charcoal. Gas stoves, LP gas, barbecues are acceptable. You have to have an immediate shut off to it, and it needs to be attended. All the rest of the stuff follows suit with welding, fireworks is all that's prohibited. Engines in the forest, we follow the rule with them too. It's they don't want you to use a gas fired equipment between the hours of that's right. Prior to 9 o'clock in the morning and after 8 o'clock at night. So for those hours from 9 to 8, no gas fired equipment. That kind of gets our phone ringing a lot because every landscaper is calling now saying, "What do you mean I can't?" But you have a spark arrestor, and how we do it here is I will assess your situation where you're at. If you're doing something on the edge of the forest, I'll probably come and look at it and see what you're doing. If they're in the middle of town, you're in your yard, you're okay. So stage 2 tomorrow, 1,800, and that's probably gonna go for pretty much the summer until the forest opens up again.
I got a,
Yes.
I imagine, I don't know if you all did, I got an email to that effect
Yes.
today.
This has
Very
been-
nice detail.
This has been sent out to everyone and everywhere. Carla's very efficient
Oh,
at,
that's what she's asking me about
Launching.
constant contact this morning.
yeah, she sends it out everywhere for me. It's
You
great.
know, I got phone calls on it saying, how did I get on the list? And I said, you got on the list.
On the list.
On the list.
This is something, we have a huge fire district, and to get this information out across that district is, how do you do it?
It's great.
So you gotta fire it up everywhere you can to get the word out. Just a couple of things going on around town. Arizona Water is replacing the water mains on Navajo and Navajope, and that's up by the Cibola Hills area where we had that fire, and then the whole Firewise thing started taking off. So all that water main is getting upgraded by them to an 8-inch from a 4-inch. And they're adding 3 new fire hydrants. So that's gonna help that subdivision, help us from fire flows in that subdivision. Granted, that subdivision up there still is gonna have small water lines because that's what they got for now. But that's gonna help us with fire flows. Yeah. So we had a fire last month in the village of Oak Creek. That was a stairwell deck outside of the house. Improper use of extension cords, to say the least, that was the cause of this one. The homeowners are very lucky. This could have had a very bad outcome. As you can see, it was starting to get into the house. This is about 6 o'clock in the morning. The residents, there's 2 sleeping upstairs, 2 downstairs. Mom downstairs decided to get up to go for a hike. Instead of sleeping in, got up, find the deck on fire, starting into the house. So with that being said, what I found in there, and this is my safety message, check your smoke alarms. They had 3 smoke alarms in the house. None of them worked. And it was a rental, and the homeowner was very proactive with me when I got him there. He ran to Ace Hardware. He bought 8 smoke detectors. The whole house was done before I left the scene. So if mom wouldn't have woke up to go for a hike and they all slept in, it could have had a negative outcome. So
When you say, tell me more about the proper use of extension cords.
okay, so using an extension cord for hard wiring is not recommended. What this happened out here was they used a 100-foot extension cord, plugged it into the garage, ran it up over the fence to a power strip that was not protected, and plugged in all of their Christmas lights, the little low voltage lights that they had strung all around the trees to light it up at night. It went to bed.
That's a no risk situation at all.
Left it on, didn't turn it off because the cord failed, probably under the deck or on the fence. It was hard to tell because of the damage. At that point, the cord failed. It started to fire, and this is common. This happens a lot. Buying the cords. But yes, and a power strip actually, if it's not protected and it's just a power strip and you don't see that surge protection on it anywhere, you just basically have an outlet, one single outlet that you turn into 6, 8 however many plugs are on that thing. And you're drawing all that current out of one outlet. Not recommended. And with that, let me speak real quick to what Chief Coyle said. Yes, yesterday afternoon, I was interviewed by Arizona Family about the heat-related injuries on the trails and how many times been going out. And I guess they did play it on the news. I missed it, but I didn't get to see I got sent to me text. But yeah, I was trying to enlighten, hopefully get the word out to people before you get to the trail, what to expect. Don't get to the trail and go, oh, I just have to have water. I don't have enough, because then you're not going to go back to your car, leave your parking spot and go get more. You're just going to go for it. So my message to them was make sure people are prepared. You're up here. It's 110 in Phoenix. It's going to be in the 90s or more here. It's not going to be much different. Most of these trails are open to sunlight. They're not, you're not walking through a tree canopy. You're on an open trail, and you're just be prepared for that. Even research, you can probably go online and Google any of these trails to see what the reviews are on it. You know, is it open? Is it a nice trail, like not the canyon? So yeah, I think it went well, and hopefully the word got out. And I don't know, how many did we go on today
It's two at once.
so far?
Bay Canyon and Boynton Canyon at the same time.
Some of the state parks are saying, at least down here, you get to noon, you're not going to that particular trail, because, you know, you're gonna have to take 4 rangers and everybody else to drag you down.
That's all I got, unless there's any questions for me.
Any questions?
People counting.
Oh. All right. The slides look very nice, by the way. Changed it. Professional.
Thank you.
Figured it was you. Okay, let's see. Had admittedly in and out of the office last month, had some family things and some changes, and then also was in a class for a week. So things went on with all of our folks as usual. I did attend it was a behavioral health course. One of our engineers and I went to it to sort of vet it for our folks. A free program that's 5 days long called Struggle Well. It's for first responders, veterans, EMS professionals, firefighters. It teaches, it's based on the premise of post-traumatic growth. And it was really a great class, personally and professionally, as far as evaluating it on behalf of our folks too. So we kind of co-hosted it with Sedona PD here in Sedona. It was at the college building at the cultural park. A lot of sheriff's officers that we work with daily. That's kind of the idea. It's a grant funded program that we're actually gonna probably host here a few rounds also, so we can get our folks through it at a better economy. Because taking people 5 days off the line, that's where the cost is for us. That's the expense. So if they can rotate through over a few weeks of a few iterations, that'd be great. But it's really whether someone's had a cumulative traumatic situation or response, or an acute, or none, if that's possible, it provides the tools for any of those situations for you, so you can move forward, get back up again, kind of a deal. So it's one of the more, like, resilience gets thrown a lot in that world. And yet when you go, how do I be resilient? People go, yeah, go be resilient. And so this actually gives you some good wellness practices and steps to take. That was really good.
Is that 5 full days?
It's
Eight-
5 full days.
Yeah.
It's a long one. And they didn't let us do, a lot of times at our level, you go to a class and you're kind of doing your work too. It's just like,
No.
you could not. You go to lunch, do your stuff, and you can work on it. So we were, it was 5 full days, like legitimate days. It was really good.
And that would be the program. If you brought it here, it would be 5 full days.
They do a shorter one. The effectiveness is greater with the 5-day one. It just is. And you have a cohort that you went through it with, which adds to your tool chest moving on to, because you have these people that can go along with you into the future. So.
So are you envisioning then breaking it up over, you said multiple weeks?
Yeah, we'd have to like cost it out and see, really. The other piece is not many people, we wouldn't mandate it or anything. Not many people want to take 5 days and go to a thing that they don't have to. So there's that also. But we're trying to get the word out through our peer support team. Because one of the members that went was on our peer support team, to spread it that way, maybe get them to go through first. And then they can sort of spread the news, if you will. See, so what a great way to partner with our neighbor agencies and regional partners. Really good. We continued with our internal CE processes while I was gone. We have 3 folks going from EMT to paramedic that are currently finishing, which helps them, helps the community, and also helps our staffing levels and backfill ability, adds more capability to that individual. So 1 just graduated, Indiana Palmer, just became a paramedic, and he's going through the hospital pre-work so that he can get cleared to be on the road solo, if you will, but he's doing great. And then we have 2 more folks that are in programs that should be ending within the next month. And we have 3 more that are signing up right now and entering in, interviewing for the program and things like that. So most of these programs take 8, 9, 10 months, depends on the college or the organization that they're putting them through. So we have 3 more entering, 1 at Coconino Community College and 2 at a program called Granite Mountain Training, which is in the Prescott area. So
Chief,
trying to build paramedics.
what percentage is ideal to have be paramedic?
Yeah, that's a great question. The world according to Buzz, it would be everyone.
Sure.
It is not a class or the coursework that is for everyone. So there is that. You give up your 8 months. It's having 2 full-time jobs because the paramedic program is very robust.
You make more decisions as a paramedic than you do in any other role in the fire service. I mean, so it's no surprise that there's a larger number of those people that are promoted, and which means then we need more of them because they're on the engines versus on the ammo. So
Yeah, our attrition of paramedics is upward promotion. It just is. That's who becomes engineers and captains and battalion chiefs historically. Doesn't
And
mean
then our
that's
percentage of paramedics is higher.
yeah, it's better than 50%.
It is, and it's great to have them there. That helps the trickle down, if you will. We like to have, so those would be captain and engineer paramedics. We attempt to have 2 firefighter medics at every station every single day. That's our baseline goal. Some have more, some have less, some, injuries in and out,
Is that all shifts?
all shifts.
2 per shift.
Who like transporting firefighter medics. So they be, lack of a better word, ambulance folks.
Yeah.
I'd say that we're
Cross-trained
right above
with
50%.
I think it is
50%
higher. I'll find out for sure.
Yeah.
Ideals would be great exercise. There's a lot of philosophy about that. Like Chief Quell even said, the leadership opportunity that you're afforded as a paramedic, because we shut those doors and you go and you're the face of Sedona Fire. You're dealing with a person who might be in critical condition. You're interfacing with the hospital all by yourself without any backup. That's priceless. All those encounters, thousands a year. I mean, that's priceless. That'd be a great thing to give to everyone, Right. It trickles up in their ability later, for sure.
You develop them as leaders on the job and then.
It really, it's trial by fire too. They make it happen. It empowers them too, really, to do more. All right, sorry, philosophize all day. You talked a lot.
I did.
All right.
I have no room to
You're
criticize.
following your role model.
Yeah, I learned it from watching you.
I have no room to criticize.
And the reason I bring up that it was 3 coming in, 3 going out, we've never done 3 at a time. We're stretching our capability. We usually do 2 or 1. We're really trying to build those numbers and looking towards the future. Because when you look towards who appears to be upwardly mobile with task book programs and things like that, primarily they're paramedics. So you got to be kind of ready for that too. So, let's see. We did a in-service training for our video laryngoscopes this past month too, where every engine came in with the clinical educators from a company called Verathon. And they learned techniques and we immediately put them out after the third shift went. And so they're on every ambulance and every engine. And that is a first line industry standard now. It used to be kind of the, we couldn't innovate, get the other device. And now it is industry standard first line to be video laryngoscopy, so, instead of direct visualization, which is peak.
It is funny how we would do it a way that we knew was less effective first, and only if we failed at that would we
I know.
use the more effective tool.
There's a lot of things like that. Sadly. So that happened, was very well received, and thank you. I mean, you signed the check for that. And I'll tell you, I left the day after that training to go to the Arizona Children's Burn Camp, and somebody texted me and said, I used it, I got the first one. And so the next morning somebody used it and intubated someone on a full code. So that was one person needed it right away. So that was pretty cool. Let's see. Dispatch stuff, we're really trying to regroup and figure out some of our response plans together still. I say that every time. There's been a few hiccups regionally with that. So it kind of put the brakes on coherence in that realm. So we are moving forward, albeit a little bit slower. We are about 6 weeks into a new interfacility transfer model with the hospital. And after 8 weeks, we're going to meet again to see how it's working. Primarily, it affects the folks in the units, but it's really an agreement between the management, SFD, and the nursing and doctor staff at Northern Arizona Healthcare. And it really affects the battalion chiefs. We kind of had to turn up the heat and give them some new ideas of how to engage the hospital when they're demanding us take their patients away and things like that. So it's been effective so far. The communication has improved. And so hopefully the relationship continues to grow and improve there. We'll be meeting with Dr. Lotz, who's our base station medical director. And it's, I think, the third week of July to evaluate it, see how we're doing. And then the next step after that would be measuring risk for some of the longer duration calls in that realm, Phoenix, Flagstaff, and the time of night that they go up, which Dr. Lotz is a proponent of minimizing risk to the responder. He really is. So he's an advocate and an ally in that realm. That's step 2, which might be the step we stay on forever, because that's a bigger mountain to move. We're almost ready for our Narcan Leave Behind program, which is through the Arizona Department of Health Services. They fund and give these little kits that have naloxone. It's the little nasal applicator, looks like a little wings, for people who have who are suspected opioid overdoses. And the state rolls these things out to police and fire. You have a kit, and if you encounter a household that had an incident like that, you leave this behind. There are many repeat situations within that group of folks. And my understanding is that it's a 21% decrease within that. I don't know how they measured household or that group, whatever that sphere was, if you leave one of these behind. In mortality in incidents, excuse me. So in incidents within that household. So
We had that program in the city of San Francisco, but a broader distributions. I got it when I was working with animal care and control.
oh, okay. Oh, yes.
And it went to many, many city departments, lots of lives.
Yeah, I was personally surprised by the statistics when I've gone to some of the things with CHS. And they are tracking it. And it's no strings attached. You leave it there and you say, if you use it, could you please scan this QR code so they can prove effectiveness to then get more? And that's it. You don't have to say who you are, who you're with. And yeah, I was actually at a concert recently and they were handing it out to anybody who wanted one. So it's getting out there. It's really interesting. So we're doing it. We're waiting on one little signature from our medical director. They're already doing it in a couple other Verde Valley agencies. And it's funny as well, I was working on it. We had two overdoses in 1 week or in 2 days or something like that, 3 days maybe here in Sedona.
In our
So,
district?
yeah. Our numbers aren't as high as other places in the Yavapai County, but it's a thing everywhere. So that's really cool. I'm excited about that one. Yeah, the rest is just maintenance stuff. So,
Anything on fleet?
pardon me?
Anything on fleet?
Oh, just the vehicles that we have, everything seems broken today, so it's not a great day. Yeah, the vehicles that we purchased are almost ready to arrive. And frankly, the rest on fleet, I can't remember in the
Okay.
moment. So nothing major. Can you help me out on this? Anybody thought? We have several things at Ford, you know that.
No, I mean, the radio techs have been working on the radios, but it's like the air conditioners and this time of year, everything gets taxed and it ends up.
Couple
Super
warranty
busy.
things back to Ford. Getting engines back in service, the usual. He's always busy, but nothing major. I apologize for that part.
That's okay.
Mike is so plug and play that in my absence, it's like, great, keep fixing things. So, yeah.
I would imagine the purchase of that new recovery unit is probably very timely.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
know that mine's been in motion almost.
All right, I'll
Any questions for you, sir, on fleet? You can hammer on fleet now that you know it's my weak spot today.
I'll talk to you all.
I have some questions for you anyway, so.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
I have one sentence from Chief Baker. This is the only time you ever get one sentence from Chief Baker. Training, delivery, and wellness initiatives are ongoing and aligned with the strategic focus areas. Fire chief's report. So the incident response, there's a slight decrease in the fire rescue calls for year to date, 16 backcountry rescues. The response performance, 90th percentile response times are still under 13 minutes for EMS. Well, that's the slide I was expecting to have up there, but is that slide 28?
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
I mean, I just said it, but, and then the GIS tools to enhance the tracking and strategic planning. So heat maps, just a visual representation of where the larger concentration of calls are. The bullseye is bigger in those areas. And so as you start to get more and more call overlaps and it gives you just and for especially useful if we were looking for where to plan a new station. If you did the opposite and you said response times, higher number, the bigger dot. And then you see these areas that you have a large number of calls and you have a higher than normal response time, then you can use that as a factor in considering, station placement, that kind of stuff. Those are, I would just like that Spinelli makes prettier and prettier maps every time.
That's a great one.
All right, next slide, please.
Oh, wow.
I could have talked a lot about the numbers, but you guys have them in your packet and they're pretty flat this time. And it was the 90th percentile was 13 minutes and then one you see Spinelli's new map. So
It's helpful to have, I think, we had worked our way to having a comparison of the response times for the past month compared to perhaps the past year. I'm not clear what they were compared to, but it's helpful to have a comparison.
I agree. And I'll make sure it's in there next month.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the year over year and the month over month
Okay.
comparisons. Yep. That is useful.
With the one thing.
And I will say that I spent several minutes looking at the station responses slide. First, initially almost sending a note to Tricia saying, I think your legend is wrong, and then figured out the legend. Not that one. The next, keep going. That one.
Oh yeah, I can see how that. Would you like?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want me to explain to the group or?
Well, what hit probably, let me tell you what I understand is this shows what number of calls or what percent of their calls that they respond to are in their still area.
That are in the still area represented by the color on their circle. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So if you look at station 6, for example, you can see that of station 6 calls, they've responded to 28 that were actually in station 6 is first due. 31 that were in station 1's, 30 that were in station 3. And then you could also, which this doesn't really tell you that, but you could assume that the large number of those ones in station 1's area, since they're jumping somebody else's first due, are interfacility transports. So of their scene calls, they run as many scene calls in station 3's area as they do in their own area. Whereas station 3 runs, a significantly higher number of calls, and all of them are in their first due. And so like when we're training, say if you're doing a water tender shuttle operation where you had those two crews come together and station 6, let's do it out here. Then the direction of the BCs is that when you do multi-company training, you train at the area with the highest probability of getting a call. So this right there tells you that if station 3 and station 6 are training together, they should train in station 3's first due because that's the area they're most likely to get a call. And station 6 is even 50% as likely to get called station 3's area as they are their own area. Yeah.
You probably know intuitively, but I kept wanting to see what percent of the different kinds of calls were by station. That was where I went first with this and why I confused myself, but
Yeah.
that I think would be interesting.
And there's not a slide that shows the.
There's incidents by type, but not necessarily by station.
Right.
We've had that in the past. So,
Matt, put that together.
yeah, so we most certainly could include that because
This way.
I think,
Just would be interesting.
well, it is interesting because it's telling actually,
Tells a story.
because what it will show you is that without interfacility transports, station 3 runs almost as many calls as station 1. And station 1 gets credit for all the interfacility
That's
transports. And then station 4 is in the 70 to 80th percentile of those two of station 1 and station 3. And then station 5 will be having a slight uptick right now. And station 6 will be remaining static.
It'd be nice for us to see it,
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
because my impression, just in the time I've been here, is station 1 is the it squad. And if it's not, it'd be good, or if it's partially, it'd be good to know.
It's useful. It's very useful information when we talk about, as a matter of fact, so we have our minimum staffing and then we have so we don't constant staff at a level. We have 3 more personnel that are assigned to a shift than is the number that we hire back for keeping on that shift. So there's a buffer there. So 3 people be on vacation, you don't have to hire anybody back basically. But we delivered about how when we're 1 above minimums or 2 above minimums, where we place those people. And it's based on the information that you were just talking about, is where the most need is and how long is it to back up, that kind of stuff. So I'll make sure that we include that slide with the station response.
And
Would be great.
2 calls at once is a key indicator too. Station 3 has more calls at the same time within their first due area than other stations typically do.
It would honestly, I'm making work for Ed here, but it would be cool to do on one board meeting, have a deep dive in analytics instead of just having them as part of this, but go through those different analytics that we use to inform our decision and share those products with you all.
That would be
And then
awesome.
just talk
I
about
think
it.
that would be great.
So, sorry, Ed.
That's fine. Maybe
In a couple
On
months.
vacation.
So,
That probably have to be in a couple
But-
months though.
and it's, so give somebody to John King to come and help with that.
Yeah, there's a couple people with
There's
Matt.
a few
King, and
people that have
Brian.
done that, and then we talk about it, and it'd be great for you to play devil's advocate too, when we say, hey, we use this to inform our decision because this is what we infer from those. Just like, well, maybe, you know what I mean? Because there's lies, damn lies and statistics. So there's different ways to look at it, but I think that would have utility.
I agree.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that forward.
Okay, so are there any board member updates and requests? We already have a request for a future meeting because of deep dive on the statistics and the calls. Other updates or things that anyone wants to bring forward? Then I have one, and it's really just a reminder to the board members that our next board meeting is on July 8th, which is a week ahead of where it normally would be. So I just want to be sure that everybody has it on your calendar for July 8th. And the reason for that change was the after meeting, which although I know none of us are going, the staff will be going and the new folks will be going. So it's still July 8th.
So there will not be a financial, it'd be unlikely that you'll have the July financials then.
Unlikely we'll have that. Unless Gabe is magicking something.
Yeah, especially the year-end ones, which are,
Yeah.
it's good to wait a month anyhow, because it's hard to get them right that quick for the regular July.
So that's the only thing to remind
Thank you.
everyone of. Yes, that's fine.
And I'll be fresh off of a recertification battery that day in Flag. So my brain will be mush.
I'm not going to say anything. Anyway, any other comments from the board? Anything you want? If not, this meeting of the Sedona Fire District Governing Board is adjourned.